Good morning, everyone, and again, welcome to our celebration today. It's our joy to be here today. I'm going to begin with a reading from Whispers from Eternity, and actually, this is right in the beginning of the book. It's the dedication of the book. Dedicated unto all the soul temples of Christians, Muslims, Buddhists, Hebrews, Hindus, and others, wherein the cosmic heart throbs equally always, and unto the multicolored lamps of all true religions, in which shines the same one white flame of God, and unto all churches, mosques, viharas, tabernacles, and temples of the world, wherein our own Father dwells impartially in the fullness of his glory. It's a beautiful dedication and reminder, isn't it? I was thinking of our affirmation today on perseverance and how perfectly it fits with our topic of World Brotherhood Day. I was reminded of what Yogananda taught, that environment is stronger than willpower. And how even the most sincere spiritual aspirant, when we come to the path, if we don't have the support of our environment, it's hard to keep taking those steps, isn't it, on the spiritual path. As Daiva talked about in our earlier ceremony, our purification ceremony, we have all the aspects of the world that are so loud and calling to us, open me up, sign me up, Skype me in, on and on. We had a wonderful experience this week, Daiva and I. Because of all of our travels this fall, we were not able to have our traditional 14-week, the Art and Science of Raja Yoga class. Traditionally, that's spread out over 14 weeks. But because we traveled quite a bit, we realized, well, what we could do is a week-long Raja Yoga intensive. And we did that at Laurelwood. It was our first experiment. It was wonderful. The word, though, that I came up with was that it was intense. It started Sunday night, and then by the time it ended Saturday afternoon yesterday, and I realized I had not opened up my computer the whole time. Really interesting. We were able to dive deep completely. We started at 6 a.m. every morning, right? We were there 6 a.m. every morning till the night. But it was a wonderful experience to feel when you have that kind of support. Now that's a bubble of time. I can't keep living in this intensive Raja Yoga. I had to come out yesterday. But it's so wonderful to have those experiences, to feel to have that complete support so that we can completely dive deeply. Yogananda saw this. He was really smart. Many years ago when he first came to America, he said, I want to create World Brotherhood colonies where we can live and work and mainly support each other in this goal of self-realization with that capital S. And so we were fortunate that Swami Kriyananda was a disciple of Yogananda's the last 3.5 years of his life, and he heard that message, and he created Ananda Village over 40 years ago, where we get to practice this. And then we have all these satellite communities that up here in Portland, as Daiva was sharing earlier. We just came back from a pilgrimage to Italy, and it was the first time I went to Assisi as a pilgrim, and I didn't know that Assisi was known as the city of peace, because it hosts many ecumenical, interreligious conferences throughout the years. And you could just feel that it's got this vibration of peace. When you first approach the city, you see the St. Francis's Basilica on the hillside. It just starts to draw you up the mountain. When, if you've had the chance to go there, I know many have experienced that. And it's St. Assisi's patron saint is St. Francis. He was known for his ultimate simplicity. At the age of 25, he had an argument with his dad out there in public and in front of the mayor of Assisi, and St. Francis says, okay, he takes off his clothes. And from that point, at the age of 25, he lived a simple life. He lived a life of a beggar. He only had the clothes that were on him. And that's how he spent the rest of his days then, fulfilling what was his mission there, living in Assisi and the neighboring towns. But he also brought that ultimate sense of humbleness, that joy, All those qualities, the joy, love, kindness, when we focus on those, what happens? They rise to the surface, right? But if we focus on the darkness, and there's darkness in this world, that's what we'll be experiencing. But if we can rise, let those qualities rise. As Swami Kriyananda has a song, and there's a line in one of his songs, let joy be your guide. Okay, let joy be your guide. Focusing on those positive qualities, letting those qualities come up. And there comes our beautiful affirmation, what? On perseverance. You know, a prayer that I've had for many years. Keep me strong and steadfast on this path, because it's hard, isn't it? Just the world is just calling us. It's so loud and bright and beautiful. And but that perseverance, keep me strong, keep me steadfast. And so we come together regularly on Sundays. We have a World Brotherhood community here, don't we? Every Sunday we come back. We often hear the same things. But why? We come together for that support, to remember to go deep, to experience that presence in meditation. And so the call is for us to become those channels of light also. And yes, maybe for some of us, we buy property, we buy land or whatever, but really, what is it about? It's in those moments. Yogananda said, take care of the moments, and then the years take care of themselves, moment by moment. What are we aspiring to? Are we aspiring to kindness? Are we aspiring to patience, to inclusiveness? Or are we being, no, this is my world, this is my box, don't touch it, here I am, here I come. But are we opening ourselves up? That reminder, that love, that kindness. You're going to be getting a lovely little gift when you come up for your blessing. And this is called a simple prayer. St. Francis wrote it. And I asked, I don't know if anyone knows when St. Francis wrote this. Maybe you do, Bill. But it's the beautiful prayer, May Lord, make me an instrument.
Yeah,
do you know?
Maybe actually didn't write that. It was certainly representative of how he felt.
It's
Yes.
actually in his writings, and it's ascribed to him, but it didn't necessarily found with him.
Okay. Well, I want to just end my part of the sharing by reading these beautiful words. This came from St. Francis's Basilica, so you're invited to take. We have plenty of them. Take as many as you want. Very special prayer. Let's hold for this as a reminder. In this, World Brotherhood Day is traditionally also the time when we begin our celebration of the holy season. So it just opens the door for us to take that next step and feel for God's presence. So this is titled A Simple Prayer. And it says, Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is discord, unity. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is error, truth. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is sadness, joy. Where there is darkness, light. O Divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Now we'll have some music.
Many hands make a miracle, and it is by the power of many hands that Ananda has grown. Certainly it's needed leadership, and our masters and Swami Kriyananda have provided that leadership, and then others who have said yes to becoming channels for that and stepping into the role of helping to guide. But it's every single person, it's every single individual who faces toward the light, takes hands with those around them also reaching toward the light, and uses their life force, their energy, their thoughts, their love to make it possible for that light to come into this world. a friend of mine many years ago. I was working side by side with him, and I had just come to Ananda village. And I was talking with him. I knew that he had been with Ananda for a long time, even at that point. I came at that point, I think it was 1985, and I knew he'd been around since the late 60s or early 70s. And I was asking him about his time, and he said, well, I actually was here for a number of years and then left. And I went and I started I got married and I started a restaurant, and I did this and I did that. And I said, well, when did you get back? He said, oh, just recently, maybe 6 months ago or something. And I mean, my heart was a little bit in shock, and I was grieving for him, and also the thought that it would be so easy to be deflected from the aspiration toward light that Ananda and living in Ananda community represented. And I asked him, I said, what was it like, and what is it like being back? And he said a most profound thing. Many of these things I ponder for decades at a time because they really inform how we move through life. But he looked at me and he said, I've discovered something. It really doesn't matter what you did yesterday. It really doesn't matter what you did 6 months ago or a year ago or 15 or 20 years ago. What really matters is what you're doing right now. And he said, it doesn't really matter that I was gone so long as what I'm doing now is in that light, is reaching for that light, is doing my practices, is loving God, is serving, is being present with it. There is no history. There is no past. There is no meaning in anything but this moment. And it doesn't matter the condition that we have in this moment. It doesn't matter our age, it doesn't matter our physical condition, it doesn't matter our emotional state, it doesn't matter our history and our parents and our kids and our jobs and our bosses. All that matters is our heart lifted in gratitude and receptivity toward the light of God that's always there. And if it is, there we are. They say that travel is a fool's paradise. And I don't dispute that at all. Though we travel a bunch, I don't know what that says. Master liked to travel. I like to travel. Gangamata really likes travel. But I also find that travel is only of value as long as I'm not going anywhere. As long as I'm living in my spine, living in the center of my own of the reality that God would have me live in. And when I do that, I'm always at home no matter where I go. And at that point, travel can be expansive and enriching when it's appropriately done. If it just makes us light and superficial, which it can easily do, and take us away from the depths and profound power that comes from a deep daily rhythm, then it doesn't serve us. But if it helps break the hypnosis that our daily rhythm is really reality, and who doesn't get lost in that, then it's a good thing. We went to Italy on purpose. We've been wanting to go and take people for a number of years. Geographically and devotionally, we find that Italy is about halfway to India. And craziness also. There's an abandonment in the culture of Italy. They lead from the heart and they live in the heart. And there is a profound sense of wholeness and freedom that comes from living in the heart. And so we took people, I think there were 50 of us, who traveled. 55, I think, was the peak number in any given day. And we had some people who had never traveled in a group. And I remember one of them, at the beginning of the trip, really boggled at the thought of spending 2 weeks in the presence of 50 other people, especially trying to move through time and space together. And by the end, she looked at me and she said, I'm going back to my other reality, and I don't know how I'm going to get through the day without 50 of my best friends around me. I want you to think about, as you think about World Brotherhood Day, and the song that we just sang, Many Hands Make a Miracle, I want you to look around this room for just a moment and look at all the remarkable assortment of people and personalities and character and culture and attitudes toward life, and how bizarre it all is. I mean, really, we are a very odd assortment. And I don't think it's broken. You know, I really, and even within families, you know, you've got Tracer and then you've got Anita. You know, you've got Mary and then you got Lorna. And then you got Timothy. And, you know, and unless I get in more trouble, I'll stop. Julian and... But I think it's on purpose. And I think we're made just the way we are. Just every one of us, exactly the way we are. Because we're at the very beginning of something that is desperately needed for this age. We're at the very beginning of people coming together in brotherhood, in fellowship, in a common recognition of the one spirit that informs all of life. And if we were all alike, there's virtually no service we could provide. We'd just be a nice little, cute little club. But because we are so diverse, I remember, again, I'm going to tell a little story on myself because it's both painful and informative. When I came to Ananda, I was very arrogant in my own assertion of how life should be, even though I knew I had no clue how it should be. I was sure that Swami was wrong and they were wrong and the things that I was getting weren't the way it should be. I hadn't learned humility yet. I hadn't learned receptivity yet. I hadn't learned trust and attunement yet. And there was a man who came with his family. I came and I became a builder, which is a tragedy unto itself in its own ways. But there was another man who came, and he was a builder. I mean, he was a real builder. He was a builder's builder. And he breathed it. But he was also a builder in the other sense, in that he was loud and kind of restless and rajasic and way out there, the way he presented himself. And I did the good old judgment thing. I looked at him and thought, what the hell is he doing here? You know, what kind of a yogi is this? And I'm, much to my chagrin, it wasn't a passing thing. I held him in that light. And we became partners in the Ananda Builders Guild. We were a group of, I think it was 12 initially, people with or without building skill committed to creating a guild to make it possible for Ananda to grow and be built. And I was one of the partners, he was one, so we were partners. And I really actually liked him, but I could never figure out how he belonged at Ananda, because I knew how Ananda was supposed to be. And one day after service, after a year or so of just holding, and believe me, we feel judgment from each other. You know, the longer we're on the path, the more we can feel what everybody feels about us. It's very, there are no secrets. So I'm sure he felt it. And I rue it to this day. But I remember the day the hypnosis broke because it was after a Sunday service. And there was a dining hall and everybody was in there, and including me. And I heard some people speaking behind me. And the couple was saying to some unknown person that their hearts just overflowing with gratitude, just saying, thank you so much for helping me understand these teachings and feel for Yogananda's presence. He's come alive for me now. I thought, this is remarkable. I turned around and they were, of course, speaking to him. And I looked at them. And I looked at him. And there was such magic between them in that moment. And I realized that I could never, the way I was made, I could never have made that connection for them. I could never have been the channel for that light into their lives. Look in the mirror. Look in the mirror. There are people who would be touched by you the way you are that nobody else in this room will be able to touch. And it's because of how weird you are. It's because of how unusual you are. It's because of the qualities that are unique to you that make you a channel into those realms where others have those qualities. And the places that I get to serve are the places where people have the weirdness that I have. And it's an important thing. I'd like to ask each of you as you look around again, remove yourself from this room. And try and hold the capacity to hold your aspirations for light. And your aspirations for wholeness and your aspirations to serve that light intact, absent this group of characters. This room, these pictures, this space. I'm going to reverse it now. Bring yourself back into the room with everybody here. Fill it for a moment with all the people who are connected who aren't here. And then one by one, remove people. Just take them out. Just until all that's left is you sitting there. It matters that you show up. It matters that they show up. If we are going to fulfill the gift and blessing that we have been given, being called to, through our aspiration, to this light, to this possibility, in this time when there's so deep a need in the world, it matters that we show up. It matters that we show up for our own aspiration. It matters that we show up in support of others' aspiration. Because that's how the light spreads. Think about, what if Yogananda had decided that he wasn't that interested? What if Swami had said, I think I'm just going to do these meditation techniques for myself? Where would we be? And what would our lives be like? There are people who are waiting on you. There are people who are waiting on Gorgia and Tracer and look in the mirror. You, whoever you are, we could go through the whole list, waiting for you to go deeper and deeper in this so that they can draw the light through you. That's World Brotherhood. That's what we're celebrating, and that's the gift we've got together. And it is so brilliant. There's a beautiful bronze. A part of travel is you get to feel the same things that you care about and are related to, seen through different eyes. And there were two moments on the trip, there were many moments on the trip that were profoundly inspiring, but there were two that are relevant to this moment, I think. And one of them is, there's an abbey in Florence. Florence has been the center of the revival and representative of the revival of social possibility. The Renaissance was born there. It was a very small town, and a group of people, a very small cadre of people, just a little larger than this, that worked off of each other, played off of each other, drew inspiration from each other, reached past, kept trying to reach past into what was possible. And they changed the course of Western culture and society. And there in the middle of Florence is an abbey that has been there for hundreds of years. It's, for those who want to go check it out or who have been there, it's the Badia Fiorentina, the Florence Abbey. It's not large, and it's stone, and it's ancient. Every morning, monks and nuns come together, separately but together, into the chapel, into the sanctuary, and there, 5 times a day, in their habits, with all their devotion laid out, they sing the Mass. And they do it. People can come and join the Mass. People cannot come and join the Mass. They don't turn and face the people. They face the altar. And they do it from the love of God in their hearts. And they do it day by day, no matter what anybody's done, no matter what else is going on, because it's what they do. And I'm convinced to my marrow, having been in there, that's where we did our worship during the time we were in Florence, and in the morning and in the evening. And the purity of the voices, the purity that comes from nothing but a person's own complete self-offering. I swear to you, it is the source for Florence's continued existence as a center of light on this planet. It was so beautiful and so pure, nobody left unchanged and untouched. I think that's our story in a Dwapara way, in a new way. We come, we sing these songs, we do these things, we get up, we do Kriya Yoga together, and separately each day, because it's ours to do, with the purity of our heart. The other thing that I saw was a bronze statue. It's I think centuries old. It was in the place, La Verna, where St. Francis received the stigmata. St. Francis did for Christendom what the Renaissance did for the culture. His inspiration to bring back the freshness and vitality of what Christ was trying to share with people, the direct communion and love of God, is so pertinent. It's why Yogananda said Francis is his patron saint. But where Francis loved Lady Poverty, Yogananda adores Lady Simplicity. That Francis lived in the joy and the presence of God. And there is a bronze there. It's not usually seen by people. It's around the corner from where people go into the sanctuary. It's there. But it's set in a niche on the side, and it has Christ up on the cross, which is so Catholic and so perfect. Okay? But Francis is there at his side. And Francis is there lifting him, and they're in obvious communion with each other. Their eyes are just riveted. And you can see Francis is lifting to ease the burden of Christ in his effort to bring the light into this dark world where there's so much contraction and self-involvement and absorption and pain and everybody's own storyline. And he's lifting Christ to help ease that burden. His life was about giving into the storyline that Christ brought to help bring us all into the freedom of our own souls. And in that, Christ's right hand is down from the cross, and you see him lifting Francis. That's our story. When we give our lives in service to those who would bring light into our lives to help share that with others and carry that forward, that very effort gives the masters the power and the grace to lift us also. So on this World Brotherhood Day, feel for the yearning of this world for wholeness that's expressed in so many entertaining ways, but also so many hurtful and painful and frivolous ways, where that energy and yearning get lost in desert sands of unfulfillment. And feel how your own life can be a channel in whatever way, hand in hand with those around you who would help bring light into this world, serving individuals from every race and nation, from every calling, every language, heart to heart.